This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening to all of you present for the session. So, in today's class, we will go for the next new set of concepts. Okay. Now, so far we have discussed with GST. What does GST stands for? Goods and Service Tax. And what kind of a tax is GST? It is indirect tax. So now, in today's class, we would learn about TDS. Now, TDS stands for tax deducted at the source, right? So, what kind of a tax is TDS? TDS stands for tax deducted at source. This TDS is nothing but a direct tax. Indirect tax is your GST, direct tax is your TDS. Now, here, why is it called as tax deducted at the source? Before the income or the expense is payable or remitted to the parties, a certain amount of tax is deducted and then becomes payable. That's why we say it is deducted at the source before it is gone for the next process or processing of payment. It is at the source when the tax amount is deducted. It is called as tax deducted at the source. Now, here, if we talk about the TDS, we have a huge list of transactions which are subject to TDS. So let's discuss about the same. Right? So here we have the different TDS rates what are applicable and what is the concept. So here it is, the concept of TDS was aimed to with an aim to collect tax from the very source of income. A person who is liable to make payment of specified nature shall deduct tax at source and remit the same into the account of the central government. The deductee from whom, this is very important for us, the deductee from whom income tax has been deducted at source would be entitled to get the credit of the amount so deducted on the basis of Form 26AS or TDS certificate what is issued by the deductor. Now, when I talk about the TDS, now we have a list of transactions which are subject to TDS. So let's find out which are those transactions which are subject to TDS. Yes. So here we have the recent one actually. Yes. Right. So here we are now. What is the series of section here? It is always for TDS. It is 190 series, 192A, 192, 193, 194, 194, 194DA. So 192 and 194, 193 series, you have the TDS rates. Okay. So now what we are currently seeing is the rates applicable for TDS for the assessment year 2022 and 23. So this is the current TDS rates what have been applicable. Now in case of salary, first it starts with that. Section 192, we have payment of salary. For salaries, we have a separate tab. Now if we click on salaries, of course we have the preferred slab. Here only a discussion is being given. So up to 2.5 lakh there is no tax. So up to then more than 2.5 to 5 lakh, so it starts like 10%, 20% of tax rate. So we discuss about the TDS rates. We have a confined defined list of transactions. We have interest on securities, payment of accumulated balance of PF. So on the PF which is in the hands of employee, that is also taxable at 10% rate. Then in case dividends are received from any domestic companies, 10% TDS would be deducted. Then income by way of interest other than securities, again 10% of TDS. Income by way of winnings from lotteries, crossword puzzles, card games and other games of any sort, it is 30%. Income by way of winnings from horse races, turf clubs, yeah, the race course. So here, horse races, turf clubs, it is 30%. We have a flat deduction for lotteries, crossword puzzles, and card games, 30. Winnings from horse races, 30%. Next we have is this payment to contractor or subcontractor. In case it is contract based job, it need not be only construction based. Contract can be anything. It can be for advertisement, that's also a contract. For any electricity based work, that's also a contract based job. So in case of HUF for individuals, it is 1%. For others, it is 2% tax rate. Now, if we talk about the insurance commission, it's 5%. Payment in respect of LIC, life insurance policy, 5%. Then NSS, National Savings Scheme, 10%. Mutual funds or UTI, it is 20%. Commission on sale of holiday tickets is 5%. Commission or brokerage, it is 5%. Well, yeah. Now, in case if rent has been given of any plant and machinery, 2%. Of any land or building or furnitures, it is 10% TDS applicable. So, payment on transfer of certain immovable property, 1. Rent by individual not liable to tax or at 5%. So, like this, we have a huge list of transactions which are subject to TDS. Is that clear? Now, and to be as a fact, it is a defined list, not like whichever transactions is there, it would be subject to TDS. It is a defined list of entries which would be subject to TDS. Okay. Yes. Now here, let's go back to the tally screen. Yeah. So here we saw the defined list of transactions which are subject to TDS. Now, when we talk about the TDS, we have three parties associated with TDS. Okay. The deductor, the deductee, and beneficiary. So we have three parties involved. We have the deductor, we have the deductee, and we have the beneficiary. So if we talk about the deductor, Deductor is the company or the establishment or the employer. And anything is same. So either company or establishment or the employer. So the deductor is nothing but the company which will deduct the TDS, required rate of TDS, and then pay the remaining amount, or the employer or the establishment. A deductor can also be an individual too. Suppose he is deducting the tax and then paying the remaining amount to the person, an individual too. Now, if we talk about the deductee, deductee of course is the employee, okay? Or or if we can define the person from whom the TDS is being deducted, individual from whom TDS is deducted. Okay. So the last one is beneficiary. What is this beneficiary? Beneficiary is nothing but the bank, authorized bank, I can say. Okay. Authorized bank in which TDS amount would be deposited. TDS amount deducted would be deposited. Okay. So the TDS amount cannot be deposited in any bank, whichever bank it is there. So TDS amount has to be deposited only in the authorized banks, which means government will list out a few banks. So they are known as the authorized banks, and in those banks itself, TDS is required to be deposited. Whatever has been deducted, it should be deposited in that particular bank, and then from there it will be remitted to the government. Okay, so we have three parties here. We have the deductor, we have the deductee, and we have is the beneficiary. Okay, now the deductor is a person who will deduct the TDS and will pay the remaining amount to the party. Deductee, the person from whom the TDS has been deducted, that is deductee. Beneficiary is the authorized bank where the aggregate amount of TDS deducted would be deposited. So here we have three: deductor, deductee, and we have is beneficiary. Now, the next process. Now, all of us have a particular document, a particular, I can say a certified document, that is PAN number, correct? PAN, permanent account number. Now, this is for us so that I think most of you would have heard that. Do you have a PAN number? Okay, fine, yes. Then I'll go for normal rate of TDS deduction. If there is no PAN number, then it will go for a double deduction, and there we have to fill up form 60 where there is no PAN number being had. So what happens? The deductee would possess a PAN number. Now, what kind of a document would a deductor possess? A deductor would possess a TAN number. TAN stands for Tax Deduction and Collection Account Number. So here, what does TAN stands for basically? So here we have tax deduction and collection account number. This TAN is possessed, just a second. Yeah, sorry for the disturbance. Right, so here we have the TAN is possessed by deductor. TAN is a document which is possessed by the deductor. So we don't have the TAN numbers. Rather, the company, the establishment, or the concerned individual HUF who is a deductor who deducts TDS, they will possess the TAN number. TAN card actually. Okay. So it's possessed by the deductor. Next is, how does the TAN look like? What is the format? Is a 10 digit alpha numeric character. Okay. Is a 10 digit alphanumeric character. Now, how is the format of TAN appearing? Format of TAN is like this: 4 alpha, 5 numbers, 1 alpha. And this is how the TAN appears: 4, 5, 1. 4 alphabets, 5 numbers, 1 alphabet. Okay, so the TAN comprises of 4 alpha, 5 numerics, and 1 alpha. Yes, so it is 4 alpha, 5 numerics, and 1 alpha. And this is how the TAN appears. Okay? Yes. So this much of basic information we must have. So basically, what is a TDS? It is a direct tax. We have three parties involved in TDS, who is the deductor, deductee, and the beneficiary. The deductor is the company, establishment, employer, or individual, however way you want to define. Deductee if the employee, the individual from whom TDS is deducted. The beneficiary is the authorized bank in which TDS amount deducted would be deposited. Now, this particular document a deductor must possess, that is TAN. TAN stands for Tax Deduction and Collection Account Number, which is possessed by the deductor, the person who is deducting TDS. And how many digits the TAN card has? It is a 10-digit alphanumeric character. So it's both a mix of alphas and numerics. So how does the TAN appear? It's 4 alphabets, 5 numerics, and 1 alphabet. Okay, so this is a briefed up information of the TAN. So now, how we give the PAN number when we are opening a particular bank account, or we're going for a passport, a DL, whatever it is, everywhere in any form they ask where what is your PAN number? Can I see your PAN card? Yes. In the same way, the company or the establishment will also will also specify the TAN number in all the documents, all the returns, the reports where the TAN number has to be possessed. Okay, TAN number has to be given. Okay, so this is how the entry What's up? Now, after TAN, let's go for the discussion of PAN. So here, PAN. PAN stands for Permanent. PAN stands for Permanent Account Number. PAN is possessed by the deductee. PAN is possessed by the deductee. Also, one interesting point to note here. Now, so far we have discussed about the GST aspects. Yes. So, now to obtain a registration under GST, if a company has to obtain registration under GST, it must and should possess a PAN card. Yes, GST registration in India is PAN based. Only when the entity or the company will possess the PAN card, based on that, the registration under GST would be granted by the government. And I've told you, I think, a couple of times, how does the GST registration number starts? It starts with 29 for by I mean the state code, followed by what number? After 29, what is the the coding starts? What number is given of the entity when we give the GST number? It is the PAN number of the entity. Yes. So it is the PAN number of the entity that is given, and then followed by the last three, the rectification and the verification codes. So which means the GST registration in India is PAN based. So PAN is possessed not only by the deductee. Deductee is who? The employee or the individual from whom the TDS has been deducted, but also by the company applying for registration under GST. Okay? So both will have PAN numbers. I will have a PAN number. Also, the company which is applying for registration under GST, which has crossed the threshold limit, which is liable for registration, it will also hold a PAN number. Now the question comes, what about those establishments, okay, which are not incorporated in India, like a foreign-based, establishments? You cannot tell them to give the PAN number because PAN number is the country-based, India-based document. It is. They will not have PAN number. So for them, the registration would be given on the basis of a document which is attested by a authorized officer, by a proper officer. Yeah. So then they'll be granted registration. If not, registration under GST cannot be granted. Okay. So now we'll come back to the PAN discussion here. So PAN is permanent account number. It is possessed by the deductee or the company applying for registration under GST. Now, how many digits a PAN number will have? One of you could answer that? Yes? One of you are aware. Is a 10-digit alphanumeric character. Now the question is, it is also a 10-digit alphanumeric character, but how it appears? In which format? 5 alpha, 4 numbers, 1 alpha. It's 5 alpha, 4 numbers, and 1 alpha. So I'll give the combination here. So 5 alpha, 4 numerics, and 1 alpha. So tan is 451, pan is 541. Okay, so this is the way we set up the tan and the pan discussion, right? So all these discussion are very much evident for the discussion of TDS. Okay, so this is how it takes place. Now what we have to do is we have to activate the TDS details evident tally software as well. So how do we go about it? What is the procedure? Let's check it out. Okay, so how do we activate the TDS details? We'll go to the F11. What is F11 actually? It is company features. So beneath the GST only you have the TDS option. Enable TDS. So you have to activate it as yes. So enable TDS as yes. Now you have to give up the TAN registration number. Yes. So T22098 DAC. Have given the TAN registration number. Now you have to put up the TAN number. TAN number and TAN registration number both are not the same. Registration number is granted for the entity, and after giving the registration number, a particular TAN number would be granted. So now you have to give the TAN number, as I told, 4 alphabets, 5 numbers, and 1 alphabet. Okay, so 4 alpha, 5 numerics, and 1 alpha. Enter. Deductor type, it is what has to be selected. It is, as of now, we will select company. Individual HUF is also there, as I've informed you. So company, deductor branch or the division. Now under which jurisdiction? Uh, Suppose if I'm taking Bangalore, Bangalore South, Bangalore North. So what is the particular jurisdiction under which this tax classification deduction application happens? That has to be given. So here I'll take it as Bangalore South. Okay, Bangalore South. Press enter, and now you have set or alter details of persons responsible, which means now if you take the example of an establishment or of a company, which is the authorized person? Now we say authorized signatory, right? In the same way, who is the authorized person for the deduction, or rather I can say for the deduction and collection of TDS, that person's details have to be given here. So here, set or alter details of persons responsible. You have to give it as yes. Once you give it as yes, press enter. So please fill up the details if you haven't done. Then we'll fill up the person's responsible details. Press enter. And now you have persons responsible. So here I'll give the name as Kiran Kumar, son of Narayan Swamy, designation CEO, add number of Kiran Kumar. Now this flat number, name of the premises, road, street, lane, area, location, all these actually not of his personal residence. Please don't mistake. It is not the personal residence details. It is the details of the address details of the company. So building number or flat number, name of the premises, road, street or lane, area, city, district or town, south. I can also give as Bangalore urban, Karnataka, pin code, mobile number, STD code, telephone number, landline number. Email ID. Yes, so once we enter the email ID, we'll press enter. Yes. So I'll just put up the screen once again here. You can just look up this. Yes. So now control A. So now ignore IT exemption limit no. Activate TDS for you know stock items. You can leave it as no itself. Control A. So here we have activated the TDS. Control A. Yes. So like this, we have activated TDS for our company as well. Right? Now, after activating the TDS for the company, now it is the time to pass entries under TDS. So I will give a small illustration, a small example that how the TDS entries would be passed. So on that we will go for it. So let me go back. The company has to pay rent of the company has to pay rent of rupees 2,50,000 for the month of October to Bhagavati Towers, Bhagavati Towers, the rent payable is subject to TDS. Now, what is the rent for the land and building? Let's have a check. Yes. The TDS rate subject for rent of land or building, plant and machinery is how much? It is 10%. So I'll put up the same rate. So how do we pass this entry? Now, what is the first step to be taken here? Step 1, create the TDS nature of payment. So how do we create the TDS nature of payment? I would navigate you to that. But here, the step 1 is we have to create the TDS nature of payment. Now, TDS, we are very much clear it is 10% rate. Now, what is the threshold limit? Now, everything will have a basic exemption limit, a threshold limit, right? So the threshold limit for rent, it is 2 lakhs. this we have to create 2 lakhs, and now the threshold limit is. So here, how would we create the TDS nature of payment? Now, actually, post, of course, we had the pandemic, and then the threshold limits was revised. So it is 2 lakhs. But in case if there is a current rate which is again updated recently, let's check if it holds for 2 lakh, or it is lesser or more than that. Yes, so here we have got it. Yes. Yeah, so now I think it has been revised. Now here it is been here from 2 lakh 40. It has been, this is actually older rate, 1 lakh 80. Now from 2 lakhs it is 2 lakh 40. Okay. So here, so you can only make out that the rent what is, the TDS what is applicable is 2 lakh 40. Okay. So let's put up the same here. Yes. Yes. So here the threshold limit is 2 lakh 40. So how do we create the TDS nature of payment? It is from gateway of tally, we go to the create option, and over here under statutory masters we have TDS nature of payments. So we have to select TDS nature of payments here. Okay. So here we have to give the title as rent
Ma'am,
on land and building. Okay. So
ma'am,
yes, pa.
ma'am, can you repeat that again?
TDS nature of payments from gateway of tally.
Yes, ma'am.
As usual, you go to the create option. Under create option, under statutory masters. Now you have covered all accounting and inventory masters, right? Okay, so the
Yes,
left
ma'am.
one is currencies there, which I will teach you at the end. So rest of all we have completely drained out. Now we go for the statutory masters. So here we have TDS nature of payments. Press enter on TDS nature of payments under statutory masters. Now we got it.
Yes, ma'am, I got it, ma'am.
Okay. So now
Thank you.
actually, okay, welcome. Now actually we have to type the name of the transaction which is subject to TDS. But actually, if you are using a licensed version, a paid version of Tally software, there is a key if you observe. Now in the vertical button bar, you have helper here. Alt H is helper. Okay. If you click on that helper, you'll get the list of entries. Here you're not able to view because we're using a trial version. Now if all the facilities, all the benefits, Tally will provide in the free version, you know what my next question can be? There will be no licensed user for the Tally software. So that's why when we're using a trial version, we can't see the list of the entries which are subject to TDS. But if you're a licensed user, the moment you select the helper option, you can uh, see the complete list of the transactions which are subject to TDS. Okay. So now name. Now in the name, what you have to give it as rent of land and building.
Excuse me, ma'am. How do
Ah,
we get this, ma'am? This table?
go from gateway of tally, select create pack. Under create, you have statutory masters, the TDS nature of payments.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. All of you have got this screen, or is anyone pending who was not able to get? Let me know. Okay. So all of you have got it then. So here, rent of land and building section. As I told, if I'm a licensed user, along with the section, the name, complete list, including the payment code, it would come out. But since here we don't have that, we have to find out the what is the section. Here only it is depicted. It is 194I. Or wait, we'll select the column here. Yeah, so here we have, yeah, for rent it is, can you see, 194I. It is 194I. So let's put up the same section here. Now, this payment code and remittance code actually is provided in the TDS tax challan. Normally, when we are remitting tax to the government, right, we use a challan. It can be for GST also, for TDS also. So in that challan, you have the payment codes and remittance code. So as of now, we cannot give this code since we're not. I mean, we are not going for the actual remittance of TDS. So you can just leave it blank. Now here we have a rate for individuals or HUF with PAN, rate for other deductee types with PAN. Okay. Now with PAN we know it is 10%. Without PAN it is double 20%. Now without PAN I don't see those details itself here. So what I have to do here is I have to press F12 configuration. Press F12 configuration, all of you. Once you press F12 configuration, you have the last feature, not the in between. You have the last feature, allow tax rate without PAN. Allow tax rate without PAN. Activate it as yes. Allow tax rate without PAN. Activate it as yes. I hope all of you have got this configuration.
Yes, ma'am.
Control A. Ah. See, now you get with PAN and without PAN. Okay. So here with PAN, how much was the rate? 10. Now without PAN, it will come automatically. It is 20. So with now even for the other deductee type, suppose if a company is deducting TDS on rent, with PAN is 10, without PAN is 20. And of course, we have the threshold or the exemption limit. So what I've told here is 2 lakh 40. Okay. So 2 lakh 40 is the threshold limit. So press enter. So enter the threshold limit as 2,40,000. Please look up to the screen and then enter the details. Accept, yes. Like this we create the TDS nature of payment. Okay, I hope all of you have got it. Now what is step 2? Okay, I'll go back to the same screen. Step 2 is create the ledgers. What kind of ledgers we have to create? Okay, first one is you have to observe carefully. First ledger we have to create is a party ledger. Party means who? To whom the rent is paid, to whom the rent is payable. Now the company has to pay rent to whom here? To Bhagavati Towers, right? So the party will become Bhagavati Towers. Next, what is that party categorized as? Under which group? Now, if the company has to pay rent to Bhagavati Towers, under which group would I categorize Bhagavati Towers as? When the company has to initiate payment from its side. Sundry, creditor. Okay, sundry, creditor. Next, what is the next ledger to be created? First one is the party ledger. Next is expense ledger. Now, what is the nature of expense for which TDS deduction is taking place? It is a rent. So, expense ledger becomes a rent, and this will come under the group of indirect expenses. This all of us are aware. Now, what is the third ledger to be prepared? The third ledger is TDS on expense ledger. So, in this case, we are creating TDS on rent ledger. Okay, and this comes under the group of duties and taxes. Okay, so like this, we have party ledger, we have expense ledger, we have TDS on expense ledger. Okay, so we have three ledgers to prepare now. So let's create all the three ledgers. So we press the escape key. We'll come back to the list of masters, master creation window, and here we will select ledgers. Select ledgers. Now here, which is the first one I have told you to create? It is Bhagavati Towers, the party ledger. Okay, so Bhagavati Towers under sundry creditor. Maintain balances bill by bill as yes. Actually details. You have TDS deductible. Is TDS deductible? There is a question. So activate it as yes. Once you put it up as yes, press enter. You get the deductor type feature. So now Bhagavati Towers is what? Bhagavati Towers you can select as a company resident. See, the deductive type can be of any nature, like as an individual, artificial juridical person, association of persons, clubs or associations, body of individuals, company NRI, company resident, cooperative, government, individual, local. It can be anything. Partnership firm. Specifically, if you're taking it, can also be a company. So here, company resident. Now, deduct TDS in the same voucher. It has to be yes itself. Now, Bhagavati Towers. Now, please don't forget to give the PAN number, which is extremely important. Without PAN, what will happen? I have told you, it will go for a double deduction. So instead of deducting TDS at 10% for the rent on land and building, it will go for 20% deduction. So don't forget to give the PAN number. You can give a combination of 541, that is 5 alphabets, 4 numbers, and 1 alphabet, because we can't here give the actual PAN number for the sake of class. So you can give 5 alphabets, 4 numbers, 1 alphabet. Provide PAN details as yes. So both should be there. Provide PAN details as yes, and give up the PAN number. Once you give up the PAN number, yes, press enter. Name on PAN, is it appearing as Bhagavati Towers or the proprietor's name? That can be given. Now, if you talk about the GST part, you can give regular and you can give the GST registration number, not an issue, or you can just give it as unknown. Now, since we are purely discussing about the TDS, you can put off the GST part. Otherwise, as usual, how we used to give for all the inventory based ledgers, right? You can go for it. Suppose if you're giving regular, and you can give the GST number. And followed by the PAN number I told right just now. Let her alter GST as yes. Registration type regular. There's nothing to change. Control A you can give. Control A. Okay. So like this you can create the party ledger. Now the next one we have is which ledger? Expense ledger. So let's go for the expense ledger here. Rental charges under indirect expenses. Type of ledger not applicable. Cost center, please do deactivate. Yes, cost centers are applicable. You though already the rent account is existing, for the TDS purpose, you can recreate one more rent ledger as rental charges. Okay. Yes, you can go for the same. Cost centers no. GST you can turn down. GST as not applicable. Is TDS applicable? Space bar. TDS as applicable. Now here, nature of payment, rent of land and building. Select land and building here. Include an accessible value not applicable. So I've put up the screen here. You can go for the same way. Okay, accept, yes. The last one, the last ledger which we have to do is which one? TDS on expense ledger. That is nothing but TDS on rent we have to create. TDS on rent under the group of duties and taxes. TDS on rent under the group of duties and taxes. So type of duty it is TDS. Nature of payment, rent of land and building. Cost center, no. That's it. So these three ledgers have to be created. All of you are able to create the three ledgers: expense ledger, party ledger, TDS or expense ledger. If you haven't created any of the ones, you can just let me know. I'll put up the ledger again, which has been created already. Accept, yes. So like this, all the three ledgers are being done. Now, what is the next step? Now we have completed the two steps, right? What is the first step? To go for creating the tedious nature of payments. Now create the ledgers. Now what is step 3? Step 3 is pass the entry. And using which voucher we have to pass the entry? We have to use a journal voucher, or we can also use a purchase voucher too. But purchase voucher you have to be careful. Purchase voucher, if you remember, for services we had used one mode, accounting invoice mode, where I told you to use Control H, change mode option, and there you had selected accounting invoice mode instead of item invoice, right? So purchase voucher can also be used, both. So here, which journal voucher we are using? As I told, we are using a journal voucher or a purchase voucher. Now here, how to pass the entry for TDS? Now above only I've given party ledger, expense ledger, TDS or expense ledger. Ledgers are ready. But how do you pass the entries? Now how does your journal voucher appear? First we have the debit aspect, right? So debit expense ledger, credit party ledger, credit TDS on expense ledger. So we have this debit expense ledger, credit party ledger, credit TDS on expense ledger. And this is the way we have to pass the entry. So let's pass the same in the journal voucher now. Press escape key, go back to the gateway of Tally. Now go to the vouchers under the transactions, F7 journal voucher. Now it will start. You have to go very carefully, slowly. What have I told you here? Debit expense ledger. Now, what was the expense ledger we created? It was rental charges. So select rental charges here. So how much was the amount? If I go back to the illustration, it was 2 lakh 50. The rent amount to be payable is 2 lakh. So it is crossing the threshold limit. So at the bottom only I've given say threshold limit is up to 2 lakh 40, no TDS. Above that it will be it's taxable. So 2 lakh 50, type 2 lakh 50 for rental charges. Once you type 2 lakh 50, press enter. You go to the credit aspect. Now here, what you have to select? Credit party ledger. Which is the party here? Bhagavati Towers. So select Bhagavati Towers. Yes, so here you have is this 2 lakh 25. So why is this deduction happening? Because it is already been activated subject to TDS here. So just press enter. All of you are able to get 2 lakh 25 as the amount when we select the party's ledger.
Ma'am.
Good. Press enter. Now here it will automatically take you to the new reference. Don't change the type of reference here. Okay, because the tax has to be remitted yet to the government. It is still payable, outstanding. Let it be new reference. Name you can give it as Bhagavati Towers. Need not give the due date. Because due date is when we remit the tax to the government. That date can be given, or as of now, you can just leave it blank. Now, can you observe? 2 lakh 50 has to be payable to Bhagavati Towers, right? So amount will come as 2 lakh 50. Now press enter. Enter. Ha. So now you get the automatic deduction of TDS here. It will automatically come down as new reference. Bhagavati Towers. Type as Bhagavati Towers. Yes. So can you see here? There is a reduction of 225,000. So what is the gross amount payable to Bhagavati Towers? It is 2 lakh 25. So press enter. Enter. Yes. So which means that out of the total amount payable of 2 lakh 50, 2 lakh 25,000 is only payable. Remaining, now you have the credit aspect, right? Press enter and now you'll select TDS on expense ledger, which is TDS on rent. So press enter, TDS on rent, yes. Which means what the company will do is the company will deduct a TDS of 25,000, okay, from 2,50,000 payable to Bhagwati Towers. So the gross amount or the net amount payable to Bhagwati Towers is 2,25,000. So this 2,25,000 is the net amount payable to Bhagwati Towers. So which means what? It is subject to TDS at 10%. Okay. So this is the way the transaction has to be passed for TDS. Okay. So press enter. Now narration is being rent payable because in journal vouchers we don't pay. It is always outstanding, payable, receivable based entries only we pass. So being rent payable to Bhagavati Towers for the month of October, subject to TDS at 10%. Being rent payable to Bhagwati Towers for the month of October, subject to TDS at 10%. So, like this, we type the narration and pass the entry. So, please type the narration.
Ma'am, can you explain the journal entry once?
Have you got this journal entry?
Yes, ma'am, I have written, but I need the explanation.
What is the explanation? You debit the expense ledger, credit the parties ledger, and credit TDS. So, which means what? Out of the total rent payable to Bhagwati Towers. Now, total rent payable to Bhagwati Towers is 2 lakh 50, right? Which I have given in the transaction. Yes, I've put up the entry here. It is 2,50,000 rent has to be paid. Now, this 2,50,000 of rent is subject to TDS at 10%, which means what? Here, if you observe at the rate here, TDS is at 10%. Threshold limit is 2,40,000, which means it is crossing the threshold limit. Yes. So it is about 2,40,000, which means it is subject to TDS. So here, what is the net amount to be payable for rent? Out of 2,50,000, if it is subject to 10% TDS, the remaining amount to be paid to Bhagwati Towers is 2,25,000, which is what? Deducting tax of 25,000, 2,25,000 has to be paid to Bhagwati Towers as rent for the month of October. So same entry we have passed up here. Is it clear?
Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. So if you have passed the entry, you can take a break now and then we resume the session back. I hope all are back after a short break. Yeah. So let's continue the session. Now, I hope all of you are clear with the first TDS entry which we have passed. All of you have done passed the TDS entries for journal. Yeah. Now, this is the way we record a TDS entry in Tally. Now we can create another example for recording the TDS entry. We can take now we have chosen rent for land and building. We can also choose this time for plant and machinery. Okay. So here, company has to pay rent of 2 lakh 50. So we'll change the amount here. Now here, one thing I would like to tell before we go for another example. Now here, suppose if the rent is less than the threshold limit. Now threshold limit for the rent of land and building is what? 2 lakh 40. Suppose if 2 lakhs is payable, it is not subject to TDS. But would the same realization happen in Tally software? So what we can do is we can just pass another entry where the TDS rent payable is 2 lakhs. Sorry, rent payable is 2 lakhs, which means it falls below the threshold limit. So how would this entry come? Now we have the party ledger ready, expense ledger, TDS with nothing to create. We just need to pass a journal entry here. So let's pass an entry where it falls below the threshold limit. Let's go for it. So what is the format of the entry? Debit expense ledger, credit party ledger, credit TDS on expense ledger, right? So debit expense ledger. So rental charges. Type the amount as 2 lakhs. Now 2 lakhs is below the threshold. Yes. So credit party ledger. Party is Bhagavati Towers. Now here there has to be made a small correction for Bhagavati Towers. Okay. Now here, what is the threshold limit we have given there? It is 2 lakh 40. So what we have to do here is we have to go to Alt G, Alter Master, TDS nature of payments. Yes. So here if we check, if the amount is up to 2 lakh 40, there is no tax. Above 2 lakh 40, there is subject to rate of tax. So here, okay. So we have cross verified the entries. So if you go for the TDS details, yes, so here also we have the deduction not being applicable. Now here it is not subject to TDS. Now even though if you give a creditor party ledger. So now here what we have to do is Alt G, Alter Master, select ledger, Bhagavati Towers, and here what you have to do is deduct TDS in the same voucher. No. Why? It is not subject to TDS. It falls below the threshold limit. So Control A, escape key, yes. So here you're back to 2 lakhs. Falls below the threshold limit.
Ma'am, what changes you did in Bhagavati Towers?
I went to Alt G. I went to the Alter Master. Alter Master, I chose the ledger. I chose Bhagavati Towers. Now here, that time we had given as deduct TDS as same voucher as yes. So that we have to deactivate it as no. So control A.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, then it will not take the reduction because it falls below the threshold limit. So this is how, and there is no question of TDS. Here it will come against reference, but here we have to take new reference because this is the second entry we are passing. So okay. Same narration, being rent payable to Bhagavati Towers subject to not subject or subject to 0% TDS. Being, or you can just give it as rent payable to Bhagavati Towers for the month of October.
Ma'am, while giving the new reference, if I give enter again, I'm getting the new reference, ma'am.
What part?
New
New
reference,
reference
if
is
I
set.
give it to enter, no, ma'am.
Ah,
Again, once again, I'm getting down there, ma'am. New reference.
okay, okay. Wait. New reference here. New reference Bhagavati Towers. 2 lakhs it is there. Because if you have chosen against reference, it will take the old bill. So if you take the new reference here. And then it will not repeat it. Pa. Against reference and new reference, it will come back to new reference again.
Yes, ma'am. First time I gave new reference, ma'am.
Ah,
Bhagavati Towers, and
ah.
2 lakhs I gave, and again I pressed enter, ma'am.
Hmm.
And the down, it's again asking new reference, ma'am. It's not allowing me
Oh,
to save also, ma'am.
okay. Probably I think have you deactivated that in that deduct TDS same voucher as no?
Yes, ma'am.
So I think probably it is taking the bill wise allocations. Or you can do one thing. You can either refresh back and you can pass the entry again, or you can just create another party ledger and try to pass the entry. Still, if it is appearing new reference again, then we can check it out. We can check
Okay,
out the
ma'am.
tax configuration over there.
Actually,
Probably for
yesterday
Same
also I
as
got the same
appearing
thing,
again.
ma'am.
huh?
Yesterday also I got the same thing, ma'am.
Again, there is a new reference at the bottom.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So then what you get? Yesterday we hadn't passed the TDS entries, right? Today only you are doing it
No,
for the
ma'am.
GST.
Yes, ma'am. For GST, I wasn't able to pass the entry, ma'am.
Okay, so there is a solution for that. Nothing to worry. Now, what we can do is, now we have passed one TDS based entry, right? That's been done for us. Now, to clear out why it is showing as new reference again and again is there are pending bills of the parties which has to be cleared. So, probably if it is taking a hold, it will take it as new reference. So, what you can do is the best option. You can go to Alt G from Gateway of Tally. You can go to Alt G. I think I've discussed about that bill settlement option, right? I think once I told you in the class. So go to Alt G, go to the receivables and payables report. Okay, now you have got the receivables and payables report. Now, next you go to the bills payable. Bills payable is there. Bills payable means what? Which are subject to be paid. So these many payments have to be done. Yes, so recently we have passed also Bhagavati Towers, which is also present here. So total payable is how much? 43,53,200. Now I'll show you one instance. You can clear the bill for everybody. But before that, go for bills receivable. So Alt G, receivables and payables report. Select the bills receivable. Now from these all parties, you have to receive the payment, and then you can clear off the bills which are to be paid to the suppliers or to the parties. Is that clear? So I'll show for one or two, and then you can clear off for the rest. So what you do is Alt G, receivables and payables report. In the last you have is ledger outstandings, last column. Ledger outstandings, press enter on ledger outstandings. And here, now to Bhagavati, we'll choose Bhagavati Towers itself, okay? Bhagavati Towers, now rent has to be paid, right? Now we'll take the recent one, 2,25,000. So press enter on Bhagavati Towers. Now can you see? Opening amount, pending amount is there. Is it visible for all of you? In your screen, in your company screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm. Now, in the vertical button bar, okay, on the right hand side of your screen, you have a settle bills option there. If you observe, it is all to be settle bills option there. Okay, press enter on settle bills. You get the bill settlement screen here for Bhagavati Towers. Okay, now you get the bill settlement screen here. Now what it is showing, voucher type payment, correct? Voucher date 2nd of April. So what is this bill settlement is when I have to clear the bill of one of the parties. Okay, when I have to clear the bills of one of the parties. Now altogether you cannot clear everybody all the parties' bills. You have to clear it one by one. So here I've chosen Bhagavati Towers. Now I have to pay Bhagavati Towers 2,25,000, correct? Which is net of TDS. So for that we have come to the bill settlement option. Now that's why if you observe there, voucher type it will show as payment voucher. Why? Because I have to pay to Bhagavati Towers. Date here is a limitation. We can't change the date. Voucher date means when the payment or the bill has been settled for Bhagavati Towers. So press enter. You come to the account column. In the account, okay, now through which bank you have to settle the payment for Bhagavati Towers. Now you have to pay 2,25,000 to Bhagavati Towers. So which through which bank you're regulating your payment? Now that bank balance, how can you check on spot? How do you do it? Now I need to know. Huh. Through through which bank I have to say, because I'm having here 4 or 5 banks. Now I am not sure like to which bank has what balance. So Alt G. I go to Alt G. I go to the cash or bank book there. I taught you in the contra vouchers to check the cash or bank balance. So Alt G, contra voucher, sorry, cash or bank book. Yes. So here I'm having a cash of 4,14,150. Canara Bank I'm having 10k. HDFC Bank I'm having 63. ICICI Bank I'm having 7,58,650. So in ICICI Bank I'm having a sufficient balance to clear the bill of Bhagavati Towers. So I will choose here ICICI Bank. Okay, so I'll press the escape key. Now what do? I will choose ICICI Bank here, and narration what I'll give as being rent paid to Bhagavati Towers net TDS at 10%. So being rent paid to Bhagavati Towers net TDS at 10%. Like this you type the narration and then press enter. Okay, so once you press enter, you get accept yes or no. So accept it. Now what happens? It will directly navigate you to the payment voucher now. Okay. Yes. I hope all of you have got this payment voucher. So I'm paying now Bhagwati Towers 2,25,000. So the pending bills are cleared. Now some of you were getting like new reference first one and again come to new reference. Why? Because the bills were pending, yet to be paid. So I'm just showing you the instance how to clear off the bill of the party. So press enter, enter. So if you're paying by check for Bhagwati Towers, retain as check itself. Amount 2,25,000. Instrument number, the check number, then the check date. By default, 1st of April, 1/4. Narration we've already given. Accept, yes. Okay, so once you accept it, what happens? Whatever the pending amount to be paid to Bhagwati Towers is being settled. So there is no pending payments. Now, if you pass that TDS which we passed that time, now it will not come. That hindrance will not be there. I hope it's clear for the ones who were having a problem with the new references occurring twice. Yeah. So now I'll show you again how this bill settlement option. Now I'll select any other party. Now for Bhagwati Towers we have cleared the payments. Now what is the amount payable to Pillai Traders? Pillai Traders we had purchased Logitech printers. If all of you remember, right? For Pillai Traders was situated in Chennai. So we'll press enter. Now to Pillai Traders, the amount payable is 88,500. Correct? So this is the amount payable to Pillai Traders. So what we'll do is all to be settle bills option, and here it'll take you to the payment voucher type. Choose the account. Now I'll choose ICICI Bank again, being payment made towards the purchase of Logitech printers. So being payment made towards the purchase of Logitech printers. Press enter. Accept, yes. Check. Give the check number. Give the check date. Accept, yes. Yes. Now, if you go and pass the entry, now which we have passed that time, let me take that entry here. Yeah, we had passed for Bhagwati Towers, right? We have passed a payment voucher. Oh, that time I didn't accept. Now here, if I pass the voucher again, oh same for Bhagwati Towers, where rent payable is 2 lakhs. Yeah, the company has to pay rent of 2 lakhs for the month of October to Bhagwati Towers. So I'll repeat the entry. That since the 2 lakh is falling below the threshold limit, what I have to do here is first I have to go to Alt G. I have to go to the Alter Master, Ledger, choose Bhagwati Towers, and here deduct TDS in the same voucher. No. Why? Because it is not subject to TDS. Okay, and here what is the format of the entry to be passed here? Debit expense ledger, credit party ledger, credit TDS on expense ledger. Now this will not appear. Why? It is not subject to TDS. It falls below the threshold limit. It is 2 lakh. It's not crossing the threshold limit. So we have to only pass this entry. Debit expense ledger credit party ledger. Okay. So debit expense ledger. Now what is the expense? It is rental charges. Now 2 lakhs. Credit who? Party ledger. Bhagavati Towers. Now you are able to get all the four options. Now you select new reference. Bhagavati Towers. Now is new reference appearing again for the ones who had the issue?
No, ma'am.
That's it. So that's the solution. Okay. Yes. So that is the way we find a solution. Why it would appear is, suppose if any previous bill, anyways, I would show you the bill settlement option shortly, but since you are not able to pass the entry, that's why I showed you a few samples. We will repeat this bill settlement option in between, of the classes, so there's nothing to worry of that. So here, see, if you observe, only 2 lakh has been considered, which is not subject to TDS, which means being, so here we pass a normal journal entry, being rent payable to Bhagwati Towers for the month of October, since it doesn't cross the threshold limit. That's it. So with this part, you end the entry, being rent payable to Bhagwati Towers for the month of October. That's it. It is not subject to TDS. It is subject to zero rate of TDS. Yes. So like this, you type the narration and pass the entry. Accept, yes. And after that, you can go for a payment voucher. Otherwise, as I've told you, you can go for a bill settlement option and you can clear the bill. Anything would be okay. Now here for the 2 lakhs, if we have to regulate the payment of Bhagwati Towers, now directly you press F5. We can go to the bank payment voucher, select ICICI Bank, which we had created for the new voucher type explanation which I had given, where we had passed a couple of entries. So now choose the party here. So anyways, in any dimensions, you can clear the bills. Either I can use a bank payment voucher to clear the party's bills. Okay, suppose here I can clear the bills of more than one party. I'm having Bhagwati Towers, so I can also choose the rest of the parties to whom I have to clear the payments, or I can go for the bill settlement option where I can clear the bills. So we have numerous ways of clearing the pending bills. It can be a bill receivable or it can be a bill payable. Either of them you can go for it. But one thing you have to realize that this bill settlement option screen would be open only if you have gone for the new reference. Please do remember that the bill settlement option, you can execute it only if you have chosen new reference as the type of bill. Okay, if you have chosen on account in case, okay, then bill settlement option you can't use because it will not show. On account means what? It's a spot payment. So to close the on account type of bill, you have to directly go for a payment voucher as usual and to clear a payment or receipt voucher to clear off the bills. But you can't choose a bill settlement option because on account will not be reflected. It's a spot payment, spot receipt. So only when there is a new reference like credit based purchases, then you can go for the bill settlement option. Okay. Now here, please do mute. Divya, it's unmute. Huh. Please do mute. So here, that's what I've told you. Okay. So here I will choose Bhagwati Towers, 2 lakhs, press enter. It will be against reference. Automatically it will take against reference 2 lakhs. I'm giving a check. The check number, the check date, being payment made, being rent paid, being
Ma'am, I am getting on account.
you have chosen on account when you're passing the journal voucher. Yeah, that will come as on account.
What,
That's
ma'am?
what when you are passing the journal voucher, probably in the type of reference, you would have chosen on account there. That's why here again it will come as on account. Is that clear?
Now can I do as on account now?
You have to do as on account only, pa. Because when I was passing a journal voucher, I had given as a new reference. Now it will come as against reference. In case you're passing a journal voucher, there you have chosen on account. Here also you have to choose on account. You cannot change the type of bill over there. So to be very careful when the types of bill come. Okay. So here I'll give being rent paid for the month of October. Yes. Like this, we type the narration and pass the entry. Accept. Yes. So today we have passed, TDS. We have discussed about the TDS. What is the concept of? How is the tax type? Okay, what are the important documents to be held for the TDS based entries, right? So I've given up for you the complete details on that, and we also passed a journal entry, a case study subject to TDS. Probably I'll give another example in the next class so that you can just get familiarized like how the TDS process goes on in the Tally software, and we will also see the TDS challan. Okay, how you can look up to that in the next session. Okay, so I hope it's clear for all of you till here. Yes, so meet you up in the next class. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mom.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.